Whether you call them buttons, badges, wearable insignia, or flair, pinback buttons have always been an inexpensive and popular form of personal expression in advertising. Buttons can tell us great stories in miniature form, from political campaigns to advertising events, entertainment, and causes, and from family reunions to scouting programs and activities. Let's learn about the history of the pinback button and see some of the samples we have in the collection of the National Scouting Museum in this edition of Artifact of the Week. Some historians trace the origin of the pinback button to ancient Egypt, while others view a much shorter and direct lineage to 1787. When Josiah Wedgwood of Wedgwood Pottery became the first to use a slogan on a product, the Wedgwood Anti-Slavery Medallion, to promote the British anti-slavery movement to the House of Commons. The original was a stamp for wax, but the image was later produced as a porcelain cameo by Wedgwood Pottery. Then in 1789 at George Washington's presidential inauguration, supporters of Washington wore custom engraved buttons that were sewn to the lapels of their jackets or worn around their neck as a pendant. It's reported that metalsmiths created similar buttons as souvenirs to commemorate the monumental occasion. During the 1840 presidential race, glass-covered brass badges were very popular and used a bar pin and clasp to attach them to the wearer's clothing. Then during the 1860 election, the first image of a candidate, a Pharaoh-type photo of Abraham Lincoln, appeared as a campaign badge. As time marched on, photos printed on cardboard replaced those printed on metal, and by 1888 were protected with a layer of celluloid, which was developed back in 1856. In the early 1890s, a company called Whitehead and Hogue saw value in creating badges and buttons that could take advantage of the nation's recent obsession with collecting items like photo cards. Not only would people want to collect them, but they could also be used to advertise products and show our support for or against issues of the day. Benjamin Whitehead began to patent various improvements to these early badges. And in 1893, he received a patent where a piece of celluloid was placed over a photograph mounted on a badge to protect the image for a longer period of time. Then on July 21, 1896, Whitehead and Hogue received a patent for the badge pin or button, which used a metal pin anchored to the back of the button to fasten the badge to your clothing. In the patent application it says, "My present invention has reference to improvements in badges for use as lapel pins or buttons or other like uses, and has for its primary object to provide a novel means for connecting the ornamental shell or button to the bar or pin for securing the badge to the lapel of a coat." It is around this time that the two styles of pinback buttons came to be. The open back style buttons have a concave opening on the backside where additional advertising could be included. And the closed back style is where the back is filled with a metal insert and the pin is attached to the metal insert. Some of the earliest pinback buttons communicated issues of the day, such as what backs the US dollar, gold or silver. Animal rights buttons made their earliest appearance in 1898, and environmental causes are seen on buttons as early as 1913. Throughout the 20th century, issue-focused buttons have provided people with a very easy way to share their beliefs on topics from prohibition to voting rights for women to the civil rights movement and protecting free speech. In the advertising world, we see the first samples of product promotion or premium buttons when a popular cartoon character, the Yellow Kid, is offered as a prize to increase sales of chewing gum and tobacco products in 1896. Well, there's never been a shortage of companies looking for ways to advertise their products and reach their customers, and because the value of word-of-mouth advertising to these businesses is so high, buttons make a great way, particularly during a time when printed images weren't as prevalent as they are today, for companies to reach their buyers. These miniature works of art featured manure spreaders, handheld calculators, soap, and nearly anything else that you can think of. In 1945, the Kellogg Company, which pioneered cereal box prizes, inserted pinback buttons into each box of Pep cereal. In all, there were 5 series of comic characters and 18 different buttons in each set, with a total of 90 in the collection. The earliest music-related buttons were created in 1901 when Henry Roney decided to rehabilitate wayward boys by teaching them hymns. They became the Roney's Boys and would tour the country playing nursing homes, schools, jails, and one time even played the White House. Buttons were also used to promote Elvis, the Supremes, the Beatles, the Grateful Dead, and so many more bands and other musical acts. In 1976, at a London concert by the Ramones, buttons produced by a quote-unquote hippie with a button maker made buttons a staple accessory of the punk rock scene from then on. The history of pop culture has also been immortalized through buttons for more than a century. Cartoons, films, TV shows, music performances, amusement rides, and even literature have all been immortalized through buttons. Finally, pinback buttons make great conversation starters. They give us a glimpse into the lives and thoughts of a person that's wearing them. They let us tell the world what's important at the moment without saying a word. They allow total strangers to share a moment, talk about some common ground, or even stoke a civil debate on a topic important to either party. Sometimes these are humorous, sometimes they're provocative, and buttons can even be introspective, causing us to think about things we might otherwise let go unnoticed. In the collection of the National Scouting Museum, we have several boxes of buttons related to scouting. From some that appear to be locally produced to promote and celebrate events, to nationally produced buttons supporting national fundraising efforts. This collection of red, white, and blue National Jamboree buttons are used to identify people in attendance. There are even these two special buttons, one where a name tag can be pre-produced and inserted into the button, or the one with space where a person's name can be written on the badge in the moment. These three small pins recognize swimmers' ability group assignments. There are buttons to urge scouts to earn ranks, and there are buttons to celebrate being a member of the various programs of the BSA. There's also this unique button that uses lenticular printing technology, so the image you see changes as you adjust your view of the image. There are also these buttons to commemorate the Roosevelt Pilgrimage, an opportunity for scouts to travel to the grave of President Teddy Roosevelt at Oyster Bay, Long Island. Check out some of the other buttons we have in our collection. So what do you think about these BSA buttons? Do you have any favorites? Or have you seen them used successfully in your local unit, district, or council? In the comments below, feel free to share photos of your favorite scouting-related buttons, or let us know what you think about those you saw in the video. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of the BSA through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.